Hello, evening. Welcome along to your Monday Night Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble Podcast. I am Martin. For my sins, I am your host, and I am joined tonight by Brian and Callum. Callum, who members will know very, very well because he's always usually on the Random Rabble or the Sunday Supplement at the weekends, but he's joining us tonight for a main show. Callum, how are you?
Yeah, living the dream, beautiful day out in Glasgow today, got a bit of the sunshine and I'm looking forward to being in the main show first time in a while. Not been on with Brian in a wee while too, so looking forward to hearing what he's got to say and all the viewers obviously, so comments in guys, see what you're thinking.
Well, I do apologise, Callum, that I've put you on with Brian. I try my best to keep Brian away from everybody, but he sneaks in there. Brian, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. I know it's like 7:30 at night, and it should be daylight. We've got like the worst moor fires up beside us, and it feels like it's the apocalypse. It's so dark, it's unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, big fires up the hills. So wildfires. So it's really weird. It's really dark, and you feel like it's the end of the world. So yeah, my lights are on, everything's on. Just to try.
Are they managing to contain them, Brian? Or?
Well, this has been since Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening they've been on. So this is into Monday now. So it's gotten out. It was really bad winds at the weekend as well. So I don't think that helped matters. So hope everybody's safe, and I hope they're getting it under control because it's quite serious.
Yeah, very much is. Jeez, I hadn't heard a thing, Brian. I must admit, I hadn't heard a thing in the news or whatever. And I see Tess has posted a video in the Discord. Is that a video she's posted? Pictures?
Yeah,
I'll need to have a look then and see how bad that is. Right, okay, well, let's just get straight into it then. Brian, seeing as most people tuning in will be regular viewers and know your coop anyway, Callum, I'll start with you. Some rumours kicking about, and let's be honest, folks, for the next wee while, it's going to be rumours that we're going to have to talk about. But apparently, Callum, Besiktas, not only just interested in Ridvan Yilmaz, but also Dio. Whether it's true or whether it's not, for me, isn't the big thing, isn't really what I take out of it, right? But the rumours were between 8.5 and 10 million was offered, right? Could be absolute nonsense. But the main question I've got, Callum, for a player of Diomande's quality, is that enough?
I'm not sure, honestly, mate. Diomande is one that always had very mixed feelings on. I think you've always seen there's a very good player there, good in the ball. He's definitely got quality. He done really well when he was in Denmark or whatever, I think for him, though, like many Rangers players over the years, just a consistency thing. I think there's a lot of games he's been absolutely brilliant. Some of the old firms. I remember a game earlier last season, Malmo away, when 2-0 we won. Absolutely brilliant performance by the boy. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like with most of the squad, I wouldn't be gutted to see him leave. Do you know what I mean? He's not. He's left a bit of an impact, but he's also one where I think if the price is right, we should take the money for him. And I'd probably say the same about Yilmaz too. I think he started and he had quite a lot of promise. I think his big problem was just injuries, wasn't it? I thought when he played for the most part, he showed he was quite a quality player. I think he struggled a lot last season, but both of those players, I think if the price is right, you bite the sheet to his hand off for them, to be honest. I think Diomande, I think you could get 10 million for him, given, what was it, we paid 3.5, 4 million for him? Something like that.
Yeah,
well, that's
something
not
like
a
that.
bad bit of business, I'd say,
Not gutted to see him leave, Brian. Is that fair? Oh, Brian's on mute. Unbelievable. First question.
It's been a while, sorry. Apologies. I think when he's played a little bit further forward, Diamande's a little bit more productive. I don't feel... I think when he plays like just in front of the defence and, the centre defensive mid position, I don't think he's utilised very well. I feel he's far better moved as in like the 8, nearly the 10. I wouldn't quite say the 10, but he's much... Because I think at Parkhead, the game, he was getting forward. He was utilising the runs. He scored, and I think he's got a good finish in him. He's got a left. I like a midfielder with a left foot. I don't know why. I think it's the same. All footballers just look better with left foots, don't they? They just look so much classier and so much better.
Just saying that because of Brian Laudrup?
No, Brian Laudrup was both footed. He
was.
Both feet, so you know what I mean. So Davy Cooper, I'll give you that one. But no, I think he's when he's further forward and he's further up the field and he's making more of an impact in the attacking zones, I think he's a far better footballer. He's got good. I like his energy as well. I've always thought he's a guy that gets up and down, the middle of the park very well. He's got a good engine in him. So I would be on the side of kind of be gutted to see him go, because I think there's more. I think with a better coach and more structure, I think you would see a bit more than what we're seeing out of him.
Oh yeah, a one-legged football player isn't going to be much use. Oh yeah. Well, David Cooper was one-legged, and he was one of the best players there's ever been in Scotland and quite possibly Europe. So, I take offence to this. Right, the thing is, you can never trust a left-handed person, especially if they're ginger. As my beard grows, there's wee bits of ginger in my beard, and I'm left-handed. So I take offence to that, Frankie. I take absolute offence to that. By the way, hello to everybody in the comments. Please do keep getting your comments in. We've got them up on the screen, and I will try and pull up as many as I possibly can. So keep getting your comments in. Please make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, you give the show a like. It's always handy. We're very close to 14,000 subscribers as well, folks. So if you could just hit that wee subscribe button if you haven't already, that would be greatly appreciated. Cal, I'm just taking on from your previous point on Dio. I was going to ask this to Brian, right? But how good do you think Dio can be or could get to? What do you think is the limit of his potential ability?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, actually, because I was going to compare him to Raskin, because I think you look at Raskin, he's made much more of an impact on me as a Rangers fan than Diomande, to be honest. I think they signed at a similar time. I think Raskin, although he's had some bad patches, he's been a lot more consistent. I think he's one where you can see the ceiling's really, really high. You know, what he's doing with the Belgium national team and all that, pairing up with De Bruyne, everybody saying he's brilliant and all that. I think that's a player where you can say there's a really high ceiling. Diomande, I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. There's been, as I say, some games for Rangers, absolutely brilliant. And then you've looked like there is a really good player in there. But I don't think you get to the level of a player like Nico Raskin. I think Diomande, I could never see him playing in the Premier League, put it that way. I think a boy like Nico Raskin probably could, if he reaches potential. I think Diomande looks to me like one would maybe settle the Championship or on the continent, maybe in a few years' time. I don't mean that. Honestly, don't mean to be harsh on him, because he's given us quite good service. The goal at Parkhead was brilliant. A few great games against them and all that. So I'm not slagging him off by any means, but I just wouldn't be that gut to see him go, because I don't think he doesn't strike me as a player who's going to get Rangers back to where they need to be. Put it that way. Whereas I think a boy like Raskin, if you build the team around him, you've got a real player in your hands there. I think he also shows a lot more in terms of leadership. I don't think you really see that as much from Diomande. I think Raskin's adding goals into his game too. Diomande, I remember when he first came in, he scored a couple back-to-back. I think it was St Johnstone away. He scored one against Hearts and all. But he hasn't really added as many goals to his game, I think. So, I don't know. I don't think his ceiling is super high. I think I'd be taking 10 million for him. As I say, that'd probably be my price.
Leadership's not really his game, though, Brian, is it? Yeah. For me, it might be. I don't know. He might grow into a leader. I don't know. But just taking on for what Callum said there, in spells, he's looked brilliant for me, Dio. So surrounded by better players in this Rangers team. If you have a midfielder, Dio and Raskin, surrounded by, I don't know, whoever else we're looking at bringing in, I don't know. There's just something to me that says I think there's a lot more to Dio than what he's shown so far.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think he's very tenacious. He's very, like when he loses the ball, the head doesn't go down. He likes to get back and try and win the ball back. He likes to, he carries the ball well. I can get where Callum's coming from, because he is, as you were saying, he has had games where he plays amazing. He has a man-of-the-match performance, and you think, right, okay, this is the guy that we all think he should be. And then he just goes a little bit quiet for a few games, but then comes back. So he's got to get that consistency, I would say, a little bit up. But I think there's more to come from him. As I said to Callum just before we started, we were speaking about other players. I still feel like we need to get bigger as a team, as in physically. I don't think we're physically big enough to sort of outmuscle teams and, just assert our dominance in games. I just feel we're very... impose our game on teams. I just think we're a bit lightweight. We need to I think there's several of them need to hit the gym and get the whey protein stuck into them, and get the
Magic coffee.
Get the magic coffee into them as well. Just a way to say that. Yes. So yeah, I just think there's a few of them just a little bit lightweight, and I would like to see them a little bit sort of tougher and a little bit more physically stronger. Diomande, I've thrown into that as well.
Well, just finally on Dio then, Callum. In fact, I'll ask Brian one more question after it, right? But just finally on Dio. What about a Russell Martin team, Callum, for the way that Dio plays? Does that suit him?
Difficult to tell. I'd say, I'll be totally honest with you. I'm not so sure how Russell Martin's play style is going to be. I know he's very big on having this style of play. I've heard it's quite high possession. I agree with Brian. I think he struggles physically, and Russell Martin, what he's been talking about is like high intensity running. On and off the ball. He wants him to work really, really hard. I think Dio can do that, but I think one of my big criticisms of him is there's some games where I think he does look a bit lazy. That is one thing I don't like in a player. There are some games where I think he could probably be doing a wee bit better, So I'm not sure it is. I don't want to sound like I'm really slagging him, because as I say, I do think there is a player there, and maybe. And Russell Martin's clearly taking a look at everyone. He's brought Kieran Dowell back from Birmingham. Who's the other one who was at Birmingham? Ben Davies as well. So he's clearly wanting to have a look at everyone, and maybe he'll really like Diomande. And definitely not one of our biggest players to blame over the last season, no doubt about it. He's far from one of the worst defenders by any means. But I'm not sure. I think he'll definitely want to have a look at him. He's probably one of our biggest assets in the team in terms of when you can sell him for a lot of money. So I think it'll be interesting taking a look at him. But I don't know if he's got the physicality for it, to be honest.
And just very, very finally then, Brian, because Callum's already answered this, but if we were offered 10 million tomorrow for Dio, is that a deal you take? And by the way, just before you answer, good evening, Jim. JD, member for 31 months, by the way, superb support. And JD, Martin doesn't read the comments and wears edible boxer shorts. JD, I told you that in confidence. And Brian, I've got yours as well, but I'm going to use that as a question. Sorry.
I think
not Brian, Kevin, sorry.
Yeah. I think 10 million you're getting in and around the sort of money that you would take for Diomande, I must admit. Especially what we paid. I think it was 3.5 we paid. So you're getting treble your money. So whenever you're getting that return on a player, I think you've got to look at it and take it. Because profit's profit at the end of the day. If you make, it's, for example, what's his name that's been in the news all the time? His name's right in my head. Oh, that's
not
terrible.
Good for a podcast, Brian.
I know. I'm just trying to remember his name. That's terrible. Igamane, for example, 1.5 million, and then we're selling them for 20 plus. If that's the sort of ceiling that we're looking at, as in we don't spend a lot, but we get double figures offers for players, then we've got to accept that sort of that money, because then we can reinvest it, recycle the process, and start again. Buy a few other guys at 1, 2, 3 million, and then get them sold on for what we're doing with either Igamane or Diomande if those deals go through. So that's a sort of, and then this is the start of the process of the player trading model. So this is what the club are aiming for. This is what they've wanted all along. So there's a chance of it really kicking in now, isn't it?
Well, John Hall has made a superb comment. Callum channel, he's a channel member as well. It's been said that we can't replace a whole team in one window, and that's true. If, however, we sell Igamane, Dessers, Yilmaz and Diomande for serious money, we can go a long way towards it. The talk was between 15 and 20 for Igamane, 5 for Dessers. I don't know how much we would be looking to sell Yilmaz for, but it's not going to be cheap. And if we get that, like we say, we get that 10 million for Diomande. Not only is that a lot of wages off the wage bill, Callum, but that is some serious cash coming into the football club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd echo exactly what John said there. I think something about this window a wee bit different from previous seasons is I think this time a bit of a positive is a lot of our players can go for a lot of money. You know what I mean? Igamane, you're talking maybe 20 million for that boy. Nico Raskin, high value, Diomande, Dessers, there's quite a lot of boys you could sell on for a decent fee there. Not only that, it was today that the share issue went through the 20 million for the 49ers, so there's clearly going to be money to spend anyway. But he is also right, you can't replace a whole team in the window. I think he clearly is going to keep, he's not going to be a full gutting of the squad. Tavernier's clearly going to stay. There will be some continuity there. I also think Button's probably going to stay as well, to be honest. We haven't really... There was a brief link with Aaron Ramsdale, but doesn't look like there's anything concrete in a goalkeeper, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, if you get talking 18 million for Igamane, you can really reinvest in that squad big time. So it's a big advantage that Russell Martin has compared to previous Rangers managers. How many of our managers were really let down by our board in the summer window? You think after 55, Steven Gerrard, and what they gave him, same way Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I think Russell Martin will have money to spend, and I'm honestly quite excited about it. I was initially very sceptical about him as an appointment, but I've kind of I bought into it a wee bit, and I look forward to see what he can do. I think he will get the resources to significantly rebuild the squad. But as John said, it won't be a fully new team overnight. We'll still keep some players, but I'd like to see a good, you're talking 5-6 in at least, I think.
Yeah, and look, folks, we've got on YouTube, we've got over 350 people watching. Let's get that 57 likes up to 100 at least. Then, in fact, no, let's get it. Let's get the likes to 200 before the end of the show. Can we do that? I'm not sure. Brian, do we trust the comments and the people watching?
They usually come up with the goods, don't they? They usually come up with the goods. Sometimes.
So let's see if we can get that. If we can get that to 200 before the end of the show, Callum will shave his head off. Right? If we can do
200.
Yeah. And Sharpie's saying that rumours a deal's been done for Hamza. We'll come back to that in a wee second. I actually wanted to bring up this one. That's why I mentioned that. Martin, when are you doing another head shave bet? Never again in my life, Sharpie. Never again in my life. I will bring up your question about Hamza in a wee second, but firstly, massive super chat for Kevin Wilson. I was actually going to bring up this one, but Kevin, I'm going to take your super chat instead, so thank you very much. Rangers should spend money on Lennon Miller, Josh Doig, and Ollie McBurney. Brian, Lennon Miller, I don't think I need to say any more, do I?
Never heard of this guy, Lennon Miller. Who is he?
It would just be me repeating myself constantly. But Lennon Miller, Josh Doig, two young Scottish players that I think, okay. I see the Lennon Miller one. Josh Doig, we've got Jeffy. We've still got Yilmaz. If we sell Yilmaz, we're talking about Owen Beck. If Owen Beck doesn't come through, Josh Doig, Brian, possibly.
Again, it depends. Obviously, he plays out in Italy, doesn't he? Is it Bologna he's at? Josh Doig? I think it's Bologna or Sassuolo. It's one of those ones. Again, I don't know if he's wanting... He's obviously seeing what's happened to maybe the likes of Aaron Hickey, who's then moved from Italy into the Premier League at Brentford.
Sassuolo,
yeah. So I'm kind of thinking that he's obviously seen Hickey go into the Premier League with Brentford, and he's thinking, well, I can do that as well. Because, I think Doig was doing as well as Hickey in Italy. So, there's every chance that teams in England could be looking at him. Again, money, transfer fees, wages, it's difficult to sort of equate what he's on over in Italy, because Italians don't usually pay huge wages unless you're like an absolute worldie. So it's going to be I mean, Lennon Miller, I think, has already made up his mind. He's away to the continent. I think his dad said as much, hasn't he? I think he feels as though he'll progress when he goes abroad. So I think the Lennon Miller train has suddenly, has left the station a long time ago.
You never know, Brian, you never know, right? Stop talking nonsense. You just never know. We might get.
I'm just not getting my hopes up for it and then to be dashed. So I'm aiming low. If it happens, then great. But I don't see Lennon Miller coming purely because I think they're angling for abroad. So that's my thoughts on Lennon Miller. Ollie McBurney, well, he was on loan at La Palma or somebody like that. Don't know where he is now. So Ollie McBurney's one of those guys. He's a hard worker, but I just don't see him scoring enough goals, to be quite honest. I just don't.
No.
He's a honest player and a decent sort of pro, but I just don't see him being the number 9 for us. Sorry, guys.
I mean, Callum, Lennon Miller and Josh Doig probably speak for themselves, but in terms of Ollie McBurney, I've never been a fan. I mean, in the occasional times that I would watch a bit of the Championship highlights or whatever when Sheffield United were in there, or even when he was in the Prem with Sheffield United, I was looking at him, and I know he's a big Rangers fan, and that was always why there was that link there. But I watched him and I went, I'm not really sure what everybody's seeing in this guy.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. I think Kevin's obviously spot on. Lennon Miller, Josh Doig, I think we all know their players Rangers should have been all over, but I think sadly missed the boat on both of them by now.
Somebody's been saying it for about a year and a half.
There you go, mate. There you go. I mean, we've always been banging on about Scottish players and all, so I can't see where he's coming from. But no, Ollie McBurney, that, you know what that reminds me of is like a Kyle Lafferty signing. You know, I mean, end his career, but he's a Rangers man. We sign him as a striker and all that. I never liked him. I watched him for Scotland. Whenever I seen him there, he was absolutely dug me. I think he's kind of a purple patch player. You know, he'll go on a good spell for like 6 or 7 games, but I don't think McBurney has the consistency. Maybe as a squad player, I mean, you know, he is a Rangers fan. Maybe he could do a job up here. I don't know, but that one just doesn't appeal to me at all, I've got to say.
No. And can I just quash this ridiculous rumour that I've got Lennon Miller poster above my bed and the missus is raging? I think you'll find that the missus is actually quite happy with the poster. So I would just like to quash that rumour straight away. So we've got another super chat coming in from Rain8472. Thank you very much for the support. Callum, are we going to sit back and accept have mistakes for yet another season? When does it end? Well, the short answer to that question, Callum, is the end of this season coming. That's when his contract runs out.
Yeah, but I mean, I hate to break it to you, Rain, but, you know, it is going to be another season of Tavernier. I don't think there's any doubt at all about that. Now, you know, we've brought Max Aronson. That maybe suggests to me he's definitely not going to be playing as much as he was the last few seasons. I think that's probably about right. You know, as much as Tavernier has been, you know, so criticised by the Rangers fans, at the end of the day, he is the long-term captain of the club. And, you know, you take him out of there, you know, that's a real rock in the dressing room. It's a lot of experience you're taking out of that team. So he is going to stay. I'd hope that he's going to be used more rotationally. And see, to be fair to Tavernier, I thought when he was moved to centre-back, he did look a bit better. You know, I wouldn't say he set the world alight by any means, but I thought right centre-back, that maybe could be a decent role for him, you know. I just think the thing with Tavernier is he's not got the legs anymore, has he? You know, when he was at his best, he was bombing up and down that right-hand channel, and his deliveries were absolutely on the money, and he'd just rack up the goals and assists. But, he can't be in the first team anymore. He can't be. And I think when Max Aron's arriving, that means he probably won't be. But I mean, the short answer is yes, we are going to see him for another season. I think he's almost certainly going to leave after that, but he's definitely here to stay for the short term, you know.
I said this a while ago. I can't remember what show it was on, right? And Brian, I'll just say YouTube's 121 likes, so 79. We need 79 people just to hit that like button. I'm not sure. But
well, it's certainly upward trajectory.
It is, but 79 people. I don't know if I've got the trust in our comments to be able to do that. 78 people. I mean, I could just sit here and do the countdown if you want. I don't know if that'd be a more interesting watch. But however, we'll see if we can hit that magical 200 likes. But look, and I think quite a lot of the people that have just liked are going to take them away when I come away with a statement, right?
Careful.
James Tavernier, right, over his time at Rangers, has been a stupendous player for us, right? The numbers that guy's produced from right back have been nothing short of phenomenal. The assists that guy's produced has been nothing short of phenomenal. Has his defending always been immaculate? No. Has he always been the best player on the park? No. But does he deserve the absolute hate that he gets? In my opinion, no. And I will be the first one to sit here and go, do you know what? I'm absolutely just as guilty as a lot of people for the stick that Tav's got. I've gave him stick. Absolutely, I have. Do I think he's good enough now to be in this Rangers team? No, I don't. Does he pick himself to play? No, he doesn't. The managers pick him to play, Brian. I think he's been an absolutely outstanding player for Rangers Football Club. And I think a lot of the hate that he gets, and again, I include myself in it, so this is me talking in hindsight, I think a lot of the hate that he gets, Brian, is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's one guy out of 11. Let's be brutal. Let's be honest about that. He's one guy out of 11. So to lay the entire blame on one guy out of 11 is silly. It's really silly. I appreciate, as you everything you said, in the sense that he's his defending's been not up to scratch at times, but it's a lot. I think a lot of other players have. I mean, for example, if you took Tav's assists and goals out of the last 10 years he's been at the club, where would all the sort of the European nights and all that, and the goals and assists that he's provided, where would you get them from? So we could have been in a worse off state if he wasn't in the team, doing the goals and assists. So it is strange. But I think he just gets. See, if he wasn't the captain, I don't think he would get near the stick that he does. I think it's just purely for the fact that he is the captain, and folk don't see him as a captain sort of material. That he doesn't shout, he doesn't sort of he's not vocal, and but I mean, I don't think captains are like that nowadays, are they? They've totally. I think they've changed over the years. I mean, I think the likes of the Vieiras and the Roy Keanes and all that sort of captains, like where they're very vocal and in your face stuff. I don't think that's necessarily the way a captain is now. So I don't really know what the captain's role in football is anymore. It's not like, and I apologise for the analogy because there'll be a lot of people that don't like this. It's not like cricket, right, where the captains get a hell of a lot of responsibility on and off the pitch. He even picks who gets selected and stuff like that. It's nothing like that in football now. I agree with you, Brian. I think the captaincy role's kind of lost its meaning almost. And that's a shame, because I always think a captain's somebody that all the other team aspire to try and emulate or want to be like. Because all captains in a lot of people's days used to be the best player or the most influential player or the most communicated player that communicated the most or encouraged the most. So I would like to see a return of a strong captain and somebody that leads the team and work right. Certainly not shouting and screaming and all like it used to be, but I would certainly like to see a guy that is very direct with players. If they're not doing well, if they're not playing well, just turn around and say, come on, well, you get a grip, sort yourself out. We need more from you. So, I would like to see a return to the old sort of style of captain, but I don't see it coming anytime soon, I'm afraid. So I'm going to be slightly disappointed, aren't I?
And I don't mean by that, Callum, that he shouldn't have got any criticism, because there has been times where his defensive performances have cost his games. And I think back to, Maida's gave him a torrid time. There's been other examples you can find if you look for them where he's not been amazing. But it's a team game. And I just feel that I think he's done enough in his Rangers career where I don't think he'll go down as one of the greatest ever captains in a football club, right? But I just think the criticism is straight away, it's for fuck's sake, Tav, it's this, it's that. It's any excuse just to jump down the guy's throat.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain things about Tavernier you just can't take away from him. I mean, was it nearly 10 years service to the club? I think his fitness is frankly phenomenal. The kind of injuries problems we've had over those years, he's played pretty much every single game. The numbers, I know people talk about penalties and all that, but they are absolutely mind-blowing, mate. You know what I mean? Like some of the records he's broken and all that for a right back, they really are unbelievable. I think one of the big problems with Tavernier, to be honest with you, people don't talk about it much, and obviously it's not football related, but I just think he doesn't speak very well. He does a lot of interviews and press conferences after big defeats, and he kind of trods out the same lines and all that. I think that does get on fans' back a lot. I just don't think he's a very good communicator. And I think you kind of do need that as a captain, to be honest. And I kind of hear what you're saying as well, Martin. We're not going to get a Richard Gough as captain again, probably. I think sadly those days probably are past us a wee bit. But I do think his communication lets it. You don't really see him rallying up the troops. You know what I mean? He's not a very vocal, sort of dominant presence in the pitch like you want your Rangers captain to be, I think. So, his service, as I say, you can't take that away from him. He's given so much of his career to this club. I don't doubt the guy's effort, and he's given us some absolutely brilliant moments. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think he is a Rangers legend. You know, I remember him fondly, and he probably is. I'll never see a goal scoring fullback like him, but you know, trophies at the end of the day, you know, that's kind of what matters to this club, isn't it? And he hasn't put enough into the cabinet to justify being a Rangers legend. But I also don't agree with, you know, folk hear him stick. Like, obviously, you can criticise him, like you say, Martin. He has let us down at times, don't get me wrong, but I think some of the abuse is a wee bit too far, put it that way. I wouldn't be slagging off the guy on a personal level. I think he's done great service to the club. Rangers legend, not for me, though. I think I'd maybe give him another season, you know what I mean, and then thank him for the service, you know.
Right. I don't know if I can bring this super chat up, which has put me in a real bind, a real position. By the way, 45 people need to like, and then we get 200. This has put me in a real position here. So this will be the shortest a super chat has ever been up. But I like to bring every single super chat up because I really do appreciate the support, even if it is somebody who I've got absolute disdain for. Charles, it's not the poster I'm worried about. Charles, thank you so much, my friend, for the support, but I can't leave that super chat up there 1 second longer. You know exactly what you're doing. You're a horrible man, and I can't wait to take you out on the WWE 2K25 members show. Because you know exactly what you're doing there, my friend. That is ridiculous behaviour. Kevin Wilson's back in again. Thank you very much, Kev, for the support. Tav has been class, and it's a team effort to win leagues, which is pretty much what we said. Tav's numbers absolutely speak for themselves, Kevin. So thank you very much again for that. And Rain's back in again. Thank you very much, Rain. Well, Martin, I can't have an opinion on our captain and my loyalty to my club is in question. Captain untouchable. Brian, I'm not saying he's captain untouchable, and Rain's got every right to have any opinion that he wants. We're all entitled to have any opinion. No, I'm saying this from my point of view. This is just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Believe me. Those who know me know that I'm usually wrong. It's just my opinion, Brian, as Rain's got his.
Absolutely. This is what football's all about, isn't it? You know, opinions. And an opinion's not 100% correct. It's an opinion. It's what you believe. So you could be right, you could be wrong. That's the beauty of an opinion. You might not agree with the opinion, but as you say, everybody's entitled to opinion, and that is totally perfectly correct. There is games where I felt that Tav has been needed, dropped, and he's continued to play, which has made things a little bit more difficult for him. You know, when things have been getting hard. But again, it's a huge call for a manager to drop a captain, isn't it? Because if you drop a captain, then you're sending out a real big message to the rest of the squad, and it's a hard one. It really is. I mean, as you said, all the superlatives that you gave, you know, Tav was his numbers and his assists. It's very difficult to drop a captain and stick by that decision, because once you do that, there's no real return from a manager. You've nailed your flag to the mast, then I'm afraid, and you've got to live by that decision. And if it doesn't come off for you, then there's only one result, isn't there?
Yeah, and as Ali's saying, it would be a very boring world if we all agreed.
Yeah.
I did not expect tonight's show to go down the Tav route, I must admit. But yeah, it's amazing how these shows can go in a completely different direction than to what you anticipated. Aldo, We Are the People channel member and super chat. Thank you very much, Aldo. Tav is sadly a serial loser, and sell Igamane, Callum, and keep Dessers. Let's move on for the Tav chat. Let's go on to the Igamane and Dessers point that Aldo's making there. Sell Igamane, by all accounts, that's pretty much a done deal, but until it's announced, it's not. So that's me just completely taken away from what I've just said. But you get my point. And keep Dessers, Callum.
I mean, Dessers is probably a player that I've seen split opinion like no other in recent years among the Rangers fan base. You know who he reminds me so much of is Fashion Sakala. It's like he can do something brilliant, have a great game, and he'll look absolutely mince the next. You never know what you think about him, you know. But look, Dessers is another one. You know, the amount of stick he gets, kind of like Tavernier, the numbers are sort of undeniable as well. You know, I think he's up well with Chris Boyd and Morelos and some of his figures and all that. And it's, I think he scored over like 25 goals 2 seasons back to back or something. I think his numbers are no bad, put it that way. He scored a few against that lot and all. And he scored a few big goals in Europe too. So I could see it, but I think Dessers another one where if the price is right for him, I think you definitely sell him. He's another one where I think 10 million. I'd certainly take 10 million for Dessers. You know what I mean? I think the 8 to 10 million range, that's what I'd probably be looking at for him. And I'd say, thanks very much for your service, but I think the price is right. The price is right. However, it looks like Igamane is a done deal, as you say, and you think, maybe do we keep Dessers then? Because you probably don't want to let both of them go. I think on Igamane, I would be absolutely gutted to see the boy leave, to be honest. I think, you know, we were talking earlier about ceiling, Diomande ceiling. I think Igamane is the highest ceiling in Rangers by a country mile, mate. I think the talent that boy showed. Keep in mind as well, towards the back end of last season, the guy was getting played left wing and he was clearly not comfortable there at all. You know, the boy, when he was played at centre forward and he really hit his form for us, like a hat-trick against Hibs and all that, what a player. And I think if we are able to keep him, he could really grow in value. So it'd be absolutely gut to see him leave. But sadly, I think Rangers are in a position where if you're talking like 20 million or whatever it is, it's very, very difficult to turn it down. So I think he probably will go. So yeah, I probably do look like we are going to keep Dessers then. I think, what do you think? Do you think if we sell Igamane, Dessers has to stay?
Well, just before you jump in, Brian, right, Aldo, thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. It kind of ties in with Kevin's next super chat. Thank you very much, Kev. Keeping Dessers, Brian, is common sense. 51 goals in 2 seasons.
I just noticed I was on mute, so I thought I'd better unmute before I get the red. This is I mean, the fact is,
spit it out, Brian.
I would suggest that if we don't sell Dessers this summer coming, then we'll either not sell him or we'll get peanuts for him next year, because obviously his age is going up. He might not have a good season like he had this season. He might not fit the Russell Martin's team. He might not play much. Then what happens then? If he doesn't fun, you know, he prefers that. He signs another striker, for example. He plays him more. So 31-year-old, 4.5 million. I'm taking that. Sorry, I'm reinvesting that and trying to get somebody else.
Brian, would it be worth losing out on that 5 million if that guy who's scored 51 goals in 2 seasons isn't a starter but can come off the bench and add goals to win as a league? Is it worth losing out on that 5 million?
It's a lot of wages to be on a backup striker, isn't it?
Gets you into the Champions League, Brian.
Well, you can't have a guy.
I mean, he might not help with that, but I'm just saying, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the gamble of having somebody on the bench who's scored 51 goals over 2 seasons?
I would, if it was me, if I was the sporting director or the manager, I'd be taking the 4 or 5 million and reinvesting it in somebody else. Just personally, that's my opinion. I just think a new slate's required. I think he splits the fan base like no other player. You know, it's completely down the middle where folk are for him, folk are against him, and we just need to. I see when he's going 1-on-1. I've never got any faith in Dessers scoring. That's my whole problem. Rangers number 9 used to, when they bared down and goal, you used to know they were going to score. I just don't have that faith in them. That's just my overall opinion.
If you've got a number 1 striker in there, if we pay decent money for an actual proper striker who can put away more chances than maybe he misses, you've still got a guy in the bench, Brian, who's, and I'm going to repeat it, who scored 51 goals over 2 seasons. And Callum, Aldo's back in again. Another super chat. Thank you, Aldo. Making the point, Callum, that only at Rangers do we have a striker that scores over 50 goals in 2 seasons and we're happy selling him at a loss. Well, I think it's kind of almost break even what we're trying to sell him at. But he'd also love to keep Igamane. Yet the Dessers debate, I expected a bit of a debate on Dessers when it came time to selling him.
Aye, I can see both sides of it. You know what I mean? I can hear what Brian's saying. Dessers is not the kind of player you hang your hat on put it that way. You know, some of the misses, let's be honest, guys, you know, I mean, they're up there with some of the worst I've seen. He does miss a lot of big chances, you know. As Aldo says, and as you keep saying, Martin, 50 goals in 2 seasons. Yeah, it just seems like a lot of Rangers fans just haven't taken to him. And I do see it. You know what it is, mate? I think you look at Igamane, you look at Dessers. Igamane is just so much easier on the eye as a footballer. You know, he has that skill, the speed, scores great goals. You know, Dessers, let's be honest, his goal catalogue isn't really saying much. He's not hitting belters for 25 yards out right in the top end or anything like that. Igamane, some of the goals he scored, the hat-trick against Hibs, you know, the goal at Celtic Park, he's just a much more eye-catching, attractive player on the eye, and I think that does harm Dessers a wee bit. Like, he's just not the best player to watch, to be honest. And I think that's why a lot of fans probably are happy at selling him at a loss. Where I will defend him though, kind of like Igamane, as we were saying earlier. Diomande we were talking about earlier. There has been a few games where Dessers has been absolutely phenomenal for us. I remember Real Betis away, where he absolutely bossed their defence, mate. Huge game for us. I think he scored a brilliant goal as well. You know, that got us through to the knockouts and all that. So,
forget about Fenerbahce.
Oh, aye, Fenerbahce, absolutely brilliant as well. So clearly there's a player in there. I can see both sides. I hate sitting on the fence, but I really can see both sides. I'm a love-hate relationship with him, you know.
Well, I hope that fence is spiky then, Callum, because I hate people sitting on the fence as well. It's disgusting. Brian, just finishing up on the Dessers chat. This is for you from Kevin Wilson.
Yeah.
Another super chat. Thank you, Kevin. And just before I read this out to you, Brian, right? 21 people needed for 200 likes on YouTube. So if there's 21 people out there hitting a wee like button, hitting a like button, you know what I'm saying? Brian, he was the top goal scorer. All strikers miss chances. He's right.
Yeah, he's right. But I said before we signed him, because I purely look at stats before we signed guys. I looked at Desser's stats before we signed him. I think he scored, was it 6 in the last 2 seasons or something? Or six the whole last season, or I can't remember what it was. And I just thought myself, no, that's not a striker for us. I just don't hang my hat on this guy winning us, shooting us towards a league.
Top goal scorer in the country is not a striker for us, Brian, no?
Well, I was just about to say, I'll probably contradict myself here, but the defence, I've always said for the last goodness knows how many months, the defence has been our bigger problem than the scoring end. The defence has let this team down so badly over the last God knows how many seasons. I'll throw in the goalkeeper as well, the back five. That's been our biggest issue for a long time. Not the striking options. I'll say that. We need to get a defence that's going to stay rock steady and, you know, keep clean sheets on a regular basis, not just a game here and a game there. We need a whole back five refresh, and we need guys that are going to throw themselves, you know, if there's times where you have to defend, they're going to throw their bodies in the line, keep out any shots. That's what we need. I've always said that the attacking options we had last season wasn't the big issue. It was the defence.
Yeah. Stephen, #Jers family, has just became a member on YouTube. Welcome to the Rabble supporters here, Stephen. I hope you enjoy. And also Rain has joined. So our Monday to Friday, Monday morning phone-ins could become a little bit more spicy. Rain, welcome, and thank you so much for the support, my friend. And I hope that you enjoy all the extra content that comes with being a member as the season's just about to kick off. The watch-alongs are back. The Q&As will be back. All sorts of stuff's happening. So thank you so much to everybody who supports us. Well over 300 members. I think we're on 320-something members. I can't even remember. We've got that many. 7 people needed for 200 likes. That's all I'm saying. 7 people. Alan, massive super chat. Hit the like button, troops, and subscribe. If you're not a member, you won't be disappointed. I think what Alan means there is if you become a member, you won't be disappointed. He's not saying that just because you're not a member, then you're happy, you're good. We offer loads of extra content. Links in the description if you want to join up and become a part of the Rabble network. Right. This kind of leads in, Callum, to a point that I was going to bring up. Right. So from William Martin, which is ironically the name of my great uncle. We have a game in a fortnight, and I know it's not him because he doesn't support Rangers. We have a game in a fortnight, guys. You're advocating selling everyone we have who plays, which is a fair point, Callum, right? We're talking about selling Dessers, selling Dio, selling Raskin if he doesn't sign a new contract, selling him. It's a great point, and it leads me into, should we be worried on the 30th of June about the lack of transfer activity that's going on at the moment?
I think, to be honest, you have to be. There was a few weeks where I was saying, you got to give it time and all that. Maybe they're keeping the cards close to the chest. But I think, being honest with you now, I'm getting a wee bit concerned because we've had, Max Aarons, Lyle Cameron, and that's about it. We've had tons of sporadic...
Oscar Cortez.
Don't even talk about him, man, honestly. You've had, Poku, who we lost out to QPR. It's not really been great, let's be honest. And I think, to be fair, they can turn it around. Some of the people that we've been linked to are very exciting. I've watched highlights of that boy, Turgeman at Tel Aviv or whatever, and that's absolutely some player. If we could get him at striker, I think that'll be a class acquisition, So, I think they do have time to turn it around. But, as William was saying there, it's only a few weeks to this Champions League game. That is absolutely massive for Rangers Football Club. And I'll do the lineup we put out against TNS, and I was absolutely crapping at me, because it was absolutely terrible. I know it wasn't like the full strength team, don't get me wrong, but you're just looking at that squad and it is nowhere near ready. It's just absolutely nowhere near ready. So I'm getting a bit worried, to be honest with you. Is it throwing the toys out the pram time yet? I'm not sure. They still do have a few weeks to turn around, and as I say, some of the acquisitions do look quite exciting, but yeah, I'm a wee bit concerned, guys, because it's also a bit of a Groundhog Day thing, isn't it? How many seasons have we been like, we'd get players in and we just leave it too late? Am I going into the season unprepared? You're also going to the first league game of the season thinking this squad's not ready. We're not ready for this season. We can't keep falling into that cycle of going into a season unprepared. And sadly, right now, it's looking like that's exactly what we're going to do. But as I say, I hope in the remaining time they are able to turn around. Here's the one positive I will say, though, right? Here's one positive I will say. I've had a lot of Leeds fans saying that these guys apparently do keep the cards really close to the chest, and it's like you'll hear about, a sign will be linked, you'll hear about it, and then 4 hours later he's in the door. You know what I mean? So maybe they're really good operators, and tons of players going to come in the next few weeks. They're clearly very pleased about the transfer business done at Leeds, but yeah, a wee bit concerned. You know what I mean? I think we're running it quite tight here, and this Champions League game's massive.
Brian, 203 likes.
Told you, Martin. Told you to have faith.
I'm telling you.
Told you to have faith.
As an atheist, it has restored my faith in humanity, I must say. Thank you so much, everybody. Should I be really cheeky and aim for 250 before the end of the show? I don't know. I couldn't. I couldn't. I mean, if we get 250, then I will believe. I will believe if we get 250. But yeah, I mean, look, Callum makes a fair point, to be honest, Brian. I said it on the afternoon rabble, though, and I'm not going to deviate from it, that as we stand right now, I've got full trust in the board. Absolute full trust in them. I like the way they've come out and spoke. I don't think they've made, the purchase of Rangers just to not buy anybody and fall short and be behind Celtic again. Until they give me a reason not to, Brian, I'm in full trust of what the board is doing.
Absolutely. They've spoke very well when, they've addressed the fans, the EGM, and then they spoke to the club media afterwards. So, nothing they've said or, everything, well, for me, everything they've said has given us a little bit of hope that things are going to get better and that they're going to be, fully backing everyone. So, no, until, as you say, until that faith is got a little crack or there's something happens that you don't quite like, then it's there's no way you can't not back this board now. You've got to keep the faith in the sense that these guys have come in. They've put a lot of faith in the manager. They're obviously going to sign players as well. So it is very much until you see something that you don't like, you have got full faith in this board, and that is me just now. I am totally happy with them. Obviously, the players' contracts are up today. I think this is the last day of a lot of players' contracts, so expirations are happening tonight. So things might happen now that, after the 30th of June, players' contracts are up. So you might see free transfers sort of happening now. So let's hope that things just get motoring on and we sign some players.
I finally broke with the comments. I've held it together for 50 minutes, and finally, Charles got me. I was waiting on Brian to finish to see how unprofessional he is, that he can't keep a straight face with some of the comments that come in, and you can see Brian holding back. But finally, I've been done. And do you know what? It wasn't even that funny. It was Brian loves a comment like Callum loves sign language. Now, for those of you who aren't members, you might not understand why that is ridiculously funny, right? I can't believe it was Charles that got me, man. Oh, that's so
Anybody
depressing.
else.
Anybody apart from Charles, man. Oh, by the way, where's Multiple, man?
Don't know.
No, I'm not happy about this.
No
I've
handyman.
I've not seen Handyman. I've not seen Geordie either in the comments.
I thought I seen him earlier.
See if he keeps using these excuses of I've got to work to feed my family. I'm not buying it. I'm really not buying it. Listen, let's finish up on Cifuentes, Callum, shall we? Unless have we already discussed him? Have we?
No.
Have we not? I can't remember. I talk that much Rangers. I forget what I've spoke about. He's on his way back. Callum, Rangers and Limassol could not agree a fee for him, so he's on his way back to Rangers. And I mean, look, the noise is that he doesn't like living in Scotland. The noise is that he doesn't want to be at Rangers. I don't know how truthful that is. I don't know if he maybe just enjoyed working with a manager out there, or he enjoyed the country, or maybe he does want to come back. I don't know. But the way it's been portrayed to us all is that he doesn't enjoy playing in Scotland. But he's back now. Is there any way we can make use of Jose Cifuentes? Is he going to be a difficult player for us to try and sell? What do we do with the Cifuentes situation?
It's an interesting one, Cifuentes. I think the whole thing was he was greeting about, the weather in Scotland, and it's pretty grim, mate. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know. He didn't make much of an impression on me when he was here. I thought you could see there was a bit of a player there. Like, he was maybe quite a physical sort of midfielder. He definitely had a few good games for us, I think, but he didn't make a massive impact on me as a Rangers fan, to be honest. I think what Russell Martin's looking at is just having a look at everyone. I think that's probably why he's got these guys like Dibble, what's his name, Ben Davies and all that back at the club. I think he's just wanting to take a look at everyone. It's probably the same as Cifuentes. At the end of the day, the squad is quite light at the minute. You know what I mean? And a lot of players are kind of going out of their contract. We have lost a few players. So, we are needing to fill the squad. And, Cifuentes is a boy. I remember when we signed him, I was very, very excited about him. I forgot where he's even come from now, but I was very excited about him. I thought he had quite a good pedigree, so I don't know. I honestly, I can't tell you remembering much about him, but hopefully he can,
I can't remember who we got him from either. And Jim Sloan as well. Thank you very much for the super chat, Jim. Remember him put a comment in, no, Jim. Remember him put a comment in.
LAFC, wasn't it?
LAFC, that's where we got him from. But Jim Sloan, who is the channel legend, unbeaten so far. Thank you very much, my friend. Bob McBob, which I love seeing his name coming up. I just love it. Brian, is he too slow for Scottish football?
It's been that long since Cifuentes plays. I can't really remember. It's been so long since I've seen him play. I can't really remember. So, let's be honest. He came from the lovely Los Angeles and pitched up in Scotland. I would hate the weather here as well if I swapped Los Angeles for Glasgow. So I would be sick.
What was he thinking? Was he thinking?
Don't know. I mean, he's living in absolute paradise in LA, and then all of a sudden he rocks up in Glasgow. I mean, gee whiz.
Imagine getting
what a come down that is.
Plane, man. He gets off the plane and it's sunny, and he needs to wear a snow jacket. You know what I mean?
It's just, but no, I think there's been occasions, obviously, in the past where players just haven't suited the game, and I think Cifuentes, unfortunately, is one of those classic examples that just doesn't suit him.
Well, let me ask you, Brian, and Callum, feel free to jump in. Would he fit into the team? Rio, Raskin, Dio, Barron, Cameron. Does he get into the team? Or is it a case of I can't remember?
It is a case of I can't remember, to be quite honest. It's been that long since I've seen him in a blue jersey, so no, I'm afraid they'll just somebody will take him. Let's be honest, right? Somebody will take him. So
how
no.
long has he got left in his contract? Does anybody even know?
Couldn't tell you. I'm usually pretty good with our contracts, but unfortunately I have no idea about this one. I've got a sneaky suspicion it's 27, or I don't know.
2 years.
Can I just bring up a comment Aldo made? Cifu had a great ball of Dessers against Betis and was actually very good in that game. That is the one game I remember he was brilliant, actually. Thanks for bringing that up, Aldo, because I forgot about that game. But he was actually brilliant in that game, and that's where I was thinking, maybe does Cifuentes have a place at Rangers? I don't know if you boys remember that, but he was absolutely brilliant in that game. I think he didn't make much of an impression, but he did have a couple of good games, to be fair to him.
2027.
Yeah, does he get into this? Does he get into this Rangers team though, Callum?
No.
Not for me. It's just I don't know. We haven't seen him play in ages. He certainly doesn't get ahead of Nico Raskin for me. I think Raskin's one of the boys you're building the team around. I think he'd be first name in the team sheet in that midfield. Is he building Diomande? Not sure. I'd probably lean towards Diomande at the minute. You've got to think about Lyle Cameron as well. Obviously injured in the minute, but he's definitely going to get game time. You know what I mean? I think he should, because he's got a lot of Scottish football experience. I think he's really excited to come here, and he scored tons of goals and assists in the last season. He's clearly got a bit about him. So I mean, I'd say probably not. He's certainly not going to slot into the first team, I don't think. But does maybe Russell Martin want to keep him for backup? With a bit of depth, quite possibly. Not sure, to be honest. I definitely not ahead of Raskin for me, though, or like Diomande, anyone like that. I think he'd probably have to be a kind of squad/bench player.
I mean, now multiple man shows up, Brian. You know what I mean? Now he shows up, pretending he's been here the whole time. Listen, I will just say, I wonder if we can get 25 likes in 3 minutes. I'm putting that challenge out there to everybody watching who hasn't already liked. Can we get 25 likes on YouTube in 3 minutes? And can we get 10 likes? Oh, wait a minute, Tassie. Can we get 5 likes on Facebook? Because that's how many people are watching on Facebook. But yeah, let's see if we can get 25 likes in 2.5 minutes, and we'll see if we can do it. He was brilliant in the first half, went off injured at half time, and we put Sterling into the midfield for the first time. Aye, that does now ring a bell. Again, it's just one of those. We'll need to wait and see. Now, this Club World Cup, is it still happening? Is it still on?
I believe so. Yes.
Inter Milan 0, Fluminense. Was it Fluminense? I was going to say, I've never heard them in the Fluminense. Yeah. Stop trying to keep me on to 9. As the members will know, that I've got a house to paint, which I've been told by my missus, don't you go making that show longer, just so you can get out of painting.
Gallant's on your case.
Yeah, he is. 14 likes. But yeah, anyway, that will do us, folks. I will just do my wee outro bit now, and hoping that we can get those 14 likes. If you do enjoy the show, folks, please do like, share, and subscribe on the old YouTube. Give us a share on Facebook. We are nearly 4,000 strong on Facebook. We're trying to up that all the time. We post regular daily clips and the latest news and stuff like that on my socials. So check that out in the description, and make sure you're following us across all socials. If you want to help the show out a little bit more, you can become a member. Like I say, we are an independent Rangers media channel. We're hoping to bring you some exciting news in the next few weeks. Hopefully it all goes through and we can bring you that. A little bit of a step up, hopefully, for the Rabble. But in order to do that, we need you guys to keep tuning in, keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing. And if you're in the position to do so, join as members. Oh, Callum's a difference maker. Yeah, well seen, Wolf, wasn't he, on the night, eh? Wolf's never a difference maker, Brian, is he? Ever?
He was in the huff for you earlier because you weren't acknowledging his comment. He was not happy.
I never seen his. I only see difference makers' comments. I only see difference makers' comments. So
it couldn't have been that much of a difference maker comment then, could it?
No, I'd like to see Wolf set about me, Gallant. He's in Aberdeen. I mean, if he said he was on his way, I'd be straight onto the phone to apologise. But yeah, 239 likes, folks. Absolutely phenomenal support. Thank you so much. Brian, Callum, also thank you for your time tonight. Just thanks for all the support in general, guys. It really does. It means so much. So thank you for all the likes, all the subscribes, all the memberships, all the super chats we've had tonight. It's been absolutely phenomenal. We are back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for the members phone in, and then back at 12:30 for the afternoon rabble. And then tomorrow night at 7 p.m. we have your live members show as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Callum. And we shall all speak. Hopefully, all of us will speak. Somebody's trying to cut in with their phone there. Very, very soon.